Sudan's ousted President Omar al-Bashir's career was defined by war. He came to power in a military coup in 1989 and ruled what was, until 2011, Africa's largest country with an iron fist. CGTN's Wilkister Nyabwa takes a look at how Bashir landed in the crosshairs of the International Criminal Court.
For over a decade while he led the country, Sudan's former President Omar al-Bashir evaded prosecution by the Hague-based International Criminal Court. But now it appears that the man who ruled Sudan for 3 decades may finally face international justice. The 76-year-old former president faces 3 counts of genocide, 5 counts of crimes against humanity, and 2 counts of war crimes. Bashir seized power in a military coup in 1989 in the middle of a civil war between Sudan's north and south that had continued for over 2 decades. In 2003, while he was still in power, the Darfur conflict broke out. Rebels from the territory's ethnic Central and Sub-Saharan African community launched an insurgency, complaining of oppression by the Arab-dominated government in Khartoum. Bashir's government responded with a scorched-earth assault of aerial bombings and unleashed militias known as the Janjaweed, who were accused of mass killings and rapes.
We have come here to confirm to you that we are committed to comprehensive peace process in Darfur. Peace is strategic, essential, and the top issue on which we will all work together.
Despite his promises, up to 300,000 people were killed and 2.7 million were driven from their homes. The ICC issued the first warrant for Bashir's arrest in March 2009 and issued another in July 2010, marking the first time the global court had charged a suspect with genocide. It required all member states to arrest and hand him over to the Hague-based court. But Bashir still managed to travel to Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, and South Africa, all members of the ICC. In 2011, following a referendum, South Sudan gained independence from Sudan. South Sudan gained 75% of the territory's oil. The government of Sudan then imposed austerity measures, but this led to protests as prices of basic goods shot up. The government responded by dispersing protesters, arresting opposition politicians, and censoring the media. In April 2019, al-Bashir was ousted in a coup after months of intense protests. The civilian leadership and the military came to a power-sharing deal until elections could be held in 2022. Bashir is already in jail in Sudan for corrupt dealings. He was found guilty of corruption and illegitimate possession of foreign currency. Wilkister, Nyabwa, CGTN.
Well, for more analysis on that story, we're not joined in studio by JONAS, who is a senior analyst on Sudan working with the International Crisis Group. Thank you so much for joining us, JONAS. Let's just start about the significance of this decision for rulers, for Bashir to be handed over to the ICC. You were saying that it's something that you could probably see coming, seeing what has been happening in the past already.
Yes, I mean, I think the timing is auspicious. I think it comes in the context of several cities around Sudan experiencing quite serious riots over shortages of fuel and bread. That's been very disruptive and has, I think, shaken the very fragile Sudanese transition as it stands. And I think it also comes in context of the recent meeting by the head of the Sovereign Council with, his name's Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, with Benjamin Netanyahu last week. And that, I think, collectively, if the military is indeed supporting this ICC will to send Bashir to the ICC or have the ICC investigate Bashir more fully, I think collectively that shows a sense of the military essentially pulling up the drawbridge from the other Islamists, from the NCP and the Muslim Brotherhood, who had been the core of Bashir's own support base in Sudan.
And this is what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, when we're seeing that on the one hand, there are people that are saying, yes, this should happen, it should have happened a long time ago, that it should have been handed over to the ICC. Then you have people that still support him and are saying, no, this should not be happening. Do you see potential unrest rising from this?
Potentially, yes. I think there's still a very sort of hardcore base that really supports Omar al-Bashir. I think this is a a job of the transition in Sudan that's been occurring essentially since Bashir's overthrow in April of last year. It is for the transition, which is composed both of military and civilians, to really illustrate to the larger population that civilians and a new dispensation can in fact deliver on the concerns and worries of a large population that is really suffering economically. And I think it's important for the transitional government to provide this proof of concept. For a lot of people, delivering Bashir to the ICC or delivering justice for a lot of the crimes of his period are very important for them to move on psychologically and to really come to terms with what happened in the past. And so that's all very important for Sudanese, especially those in Darfur, and that's precisely where Bashir's 2009 and 2010 arrest warrants with the ICC pertain to.
And we also saw when a lot of that was, especially the fighting was still going on, over 2 million people that were displaced just in that region. Just speak to us about Darfur in particular and what this could mean for especially the victims of that region.
Sure. No, I think it's important for Darfuris to see that justice is being served, and I think it also really serves to promote especially the civilian side of the transitional government, shows that they can deliver on justice, which has been a key request of the revolution, and that's a really important sort of mass psychological component there. There are also issues, though, of things like compensation, returns of land that have been appropriated and stolen over the course of Bashir's reign. And I think those questions of how to compensate those people, how to make those people whole, those will now also occupy people. So there's a lot of very much more tangible components that are really at the heart of people's concerns about Darfur. And frankly, the violence continues in Darfur to a degree today. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jonas Horner. He's senior analyst on Sudan from the International Crisis Group. Thank you so much for joining us.